Morning, everyone. Welcome to another Power Hour. It's Riley Smith talking. If you guys remember me, I'm back again for another month. This month we're going to be talking about new TBC tools for cadastral survey workflows. And today I'm glad to have Jeff Blanton presenting with me today. So a little background about myself is... hold on one second. Oh, yeah, just making sure we're not having any technical difficulties. No, we're good. So Riley Smith, I'm the one speaking right now. I'm a product manager intern working with the Trimble Business Center group out of Westminster, Colorado. And Jeff, maybe you want to talk about yourself there. I've got a kind of fitting picture for you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that picture, Riley. That was nice of you.
Just kidding. It's an actual picture of Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. I've been a product manager at Trimble now. I've been working here for almost 2 years coming up. And prior to that, I was a surveyor for about 22 years. Well, I guess I'm still a surveyor. But my previous life, I spent a lot of time in the field, in the office, working on surveying projects.
All right. So I'm glad to have Jeff here today, mainly because he's been working really closely with the TBC team. And because of his background in surveying and being a professional land surveyor, he's really helped give us some good input on a lot of the features that we've developed in TBC. So I'm glad to have him here today to present. So agenda today, we're going to talk about what cadastral surveying is for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, go over the kind of typical workflow in TBC in regards to cadastral surveying. Just to preface this though, cadastral surveying and the techniques involved varies a lot over internationally, and whether even in countries. I'm sure Jeff can speak to the United States. I mean, even just in different states here, the legislation and the procedures can vary quite a bit. So what we're speaking to today is primarily along with the North American style of land surveying, and Jeff can talk a little bit more about that as he's demonstrating. And then we'll talk about some benefits of why this is useful in TBC, why you can perform your cadastral surveying workflows, and why you may want to use TBC as that survey package for you. And then Jeff's going to do a demonstration on some of the new tools in TBC, and then we'll sum it all up at the end and have a quick question and answer session. So one thing I failed to mention at the start is there is a chat window, so feel free to type in your questions there, and Jeff and I will answer them as we go. So cadastral surveying. I thought this was interesting to pull up a little definition, and this is from the FIG publication number 11. And what it says is cadastral surveying is the definition, identification, demarcation, measuring, and mapping of new or changed legal parcel boundaries. And I don't know, Jeff, do you have any comments on that definition?
I don't. I like that definition. I mean, we do quite a bit more than just that right there, but that sums up a history.
Yeah. And we were talking about before earlier, the guy in the right picture there, he doesn't look like he's struggling enough to be actually surveying. So I think that was a big picture.
I've never come across the corner that open.
So motivation. What was our motivation as developers and marketing with the Trimble Business Center? It was really to support the cadastral surveyor. That's coming back to our roots of supporting the very. Can everyone, just to clarify, can everyone hear Jeff and I? Please just type in the chat window if you can hear us all right. We just want to make sure there's no difficulties. Perfect. Great. Thanks for the answers, guys. So continuing on, the motivation. So like I said, back to our roots, supporting the surveyor in all of their workflows. There's been a lot of effort put on point clouds and working with point cloud data in TBC, but we want to kind of step back and show you that there is a lot of tools going back to that conventional cadastral survey workflow. And through that, what we've done is created a command called create COGO. And with that, we've enabled efficient geometry and parcel creation using a hybrid of mouse and keyboard input. This is the idea behind this was to satisfy those users who are used to input like AutoCAD input with the command line and things like that. As well, we've added to that feature a lock closure reporting system where you can perform lock closure analysis on the keyed-in geometry and report on it. So benefits, why is it good to have this workflow in TBC? So first point is the entire cadastral workflow can be done in one software. We have Trimble Business Center, and within that, we can combine various types of survey data such as RTK, GNSS, and total station, perform necessary adjustments on that like traverse and network adjustments, perform COGO and CAD tools on that data, whether that's drafting up line work, labeling, symbology, and then finally drafting to get the finished survey plan. So really, the entire software or the entire workflow is in one software. Because of this, as a survey professional, you would provide, or you don't have to provide as much training and maintenance on software. I know the conventional mindset in a survey office is to generally have several software packages just to get one survey deliverable. I know, Jeff, I mean,
Yeah.
you can speak to this, working in the survey industry for quite a long time.
I can say one of my biggest complaints as a surveyor was that TBC, and for those who remember going back to TGO days, that cadastral surveying was always missing, and it's still a large part of our everyday lives, and having to come in and out of different programs was always such a pain. And over the past couple of years, the TBC team has been making great strides to improve that.
Yeah, and because of that less or the ability to only have one software package and not several, this is going to save you time and money in the end. And I mean, we're all businesses, and that's really what, as a surveyor, you're looking for, is that cutting of the cost. So workflow that we're looking at today, as I mentioned before, primarily what we're looking at is somewhat of a North American style workflow, but that's not to say a lot of the commands, a lot of the operations, and even most of the workflow can't be applied elsewhere in the world. So please take part and ask questions, and maybe give Jeff and I some suggestions on if you're in a certain part of the world and there's maybe something missing from this workflow that would help you out. So first, typically it starts with going to your local deed registry or land titles office, whether that's a physical location or online, and acquiring a digital or a hard copy plan. And you take that plan, you bring it to TBC, and you can also import, if it's a digital plan, you can import it as a PDF into TBC and actually view it on the screen, or we can just take the data that's on the plan, key it in using the create COGO command that I mentioned before, check the misclosure of the existing plan line work, and then export that data to the field, whether that's line work or points or both, and then you can use that in the field for finding monuments. And then as you're in the field, you collect the data and notes. And I think it was important to put notes here because that's probably the most important part of a legal survey, Jeff.
Very important.
Thanks. Okay, good. I'm just glad. I need that clarification. So once you're done collecting the data in the field, you import it into TBC, where you can process and adjust it, as I mentioned before, using traverse or network adjustment, depending on the type of data you have, whether that's GNSS, total station. And then use the CAD, COGO, and drafting tools that are in TBC to whip up a survey plan for whatever purpose it may be, whether that's a property report or maybe a boundary retracement. And then finally generate that plan as a PDF or print it out as hard copy. So I've kind of went through and drone on a little bit about all this workflow and benefits, but really let's get into the meat and bones of it, and I'll hand it off to Jeff, who's going to talk about the cadastral workflow in TBC and give some demonstration on some of the new tools.
Okay, for those that aren't familiar with this, like Riley said, we're going to be focusing on North American or U.S. workflows. It did come to my attention, as Riley mentioned earlier, things are quite different outside the U.S. and I learned outside the U.S. Surveyors don't use bearings. We're one of the few that use that, so I want to give a quick description of what a bearing is. Where an azimuth is either turned from north or south 360 degrees, a bearing is turned 90 degrees from north, east, or west, or from south, east, or west, and then given a direction such as northeast or southeast. So that's a quick definition of what bearings are, and that's what I'll be referencing to here. So I have a TBC project that I've opened up already, and I want to go ahead and start. And one of the first things I want to do is I want to go to the my project settings, and you'll see that we have some new features here. Underneath the Units tab under Azimuth, you can choose how you want to enter in your angles, either from a north azimuth, south azimuth, or bearing. And like I said, I'm going to be using the bearings. And then also under computations, we have this new COGO feature for those who have a precision requirement. This is where you can set your precisions. It defaults to 15,000. It may need to be a little tighter than that, and you can come in here and change that to whatever your needs are. So I'm going to go ahead and accept the defaults right here. And then under the Survey tab, you'll see we have the new Create COGO button. Now I'm going to click on that. A new panel opens up where you'll see we have the 3 tabs: Options, COGO, and Map Check. Right now, I'll just go over the options. The first feature you come across is the collection name, and this is what we call the collection of text used to put together the line strings and points to draw out your features. You can select what layer you want that to be on. I'm going to go ahead and hit select COGO, but if you want to add a new layer, select new layer. Or I just learned this trick yesterday. If you in the layers and you hit the space bar, it brings up the layer manager for you.
That's one of my favorite little tips and tricks.
Every week I learn something new from the TBC team.
We need to have a tips and tricks with TBC.
Yeah, it would be very helpful. Below that, we have a checkbox that automatically creates points at your vertices. So that's default checked on. It was if you don't want points at your vertexes, then you just check that off. You can also give it a starting point number if you prefer, or you can go with the default. Again, you have the option to put the points on the layer. If your drawing is a 3D drawing, contains vertical elements, then we have a checkbox here which defaults to off because here in the U.S. most of our surveys are 2D. You can check that on, and then you'll have the options to enter in elevations as you go along. Below that is the horizontal distances. You can either use grid distances, or you can select the ground and put in the scale factor if you're drawing in ground coordinates.
And I think it's kind of typical. I know in my experience, a lot of the time survey plans are in ground coordinates, so yeah, that's why we kept that option there.
And they usually provide a scale factor as well that you can enter in. Below that, we have the curve distances. So many surveyors or construction plans or what have you, the curve tables contain different information. So from here, depending on what data is in your curve table, you can select how you're going to enter in your curve information. Below that is our, you can check this numeric keypad on. Once you get comfortable with the program and the shortcuts, I recommend using that. But until you get to that point, I wouldn't use that. Otherwise, it gets a little bit confusing.
Yeah, it's for those advanced users, you're saying?
Yeah, advanced users, absolutely.
I get a little used to the command first. Yeah.
I know it pretty well, and I'm not that advanced yet. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. I've named my collection, started at point 1000. I'm going to create my collection. Once I hit the create button, I go over to the COGO tab, and you'll see here we have a nice workspace that you can start entering your text. Below, you have your start, where you can start by a coordinate, if you have a known coordinate, or if you want to assume a coordinate system, or you can start on a point that you may have imported in already. Below that, we have the line features, and underneath that, we have all the different methods for entering in a line, either based on a bearing, and as I said before, if I would have selected azimuth, I could have typed in an azimuth rather than a bearing. I can enter in lines by coordinates, interior angles, left angles. I'll go into some more of these in more detail here in a little bit. Same with the arcs. We have many different methods that you can enter an arc depending on the curve information that you're provided.
So it looks like there's pretty much every way of creating a line or an arc there.
Yeah, they're pretty well covered. If you can't create a line and arc off of this, there might be something wrong with your plan. And then side shots, which I'll go into a little more detail with that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to start by a coordinate. Now, I can work several different ways. I can hit the start coordinate. I can just select a spot on the map if I want. I can type in below at the start coordinate bar here and enter in a coordinate, or I can just type it in up here as well. I like to use the bar myself. So I'm going to go 5,000, 5,000. Below that, we have, if you come across a monument or something that's already has a name to it or some kind of ID to it, you can opt to put that ID in right here, and it will overwrite the automatic numbering. We also have the feature code list, so if you want to run feature codes on this, you can, and you have a feature code library that you use for these, you can add that in there and then process this feature codes when you completed your line work here. So I'm going to go ahead and just do 5,000, 5,000, and I'm not going to give it a new point name. My
Zoom extends, maybe?
Yeah. Let me zoom to the point. It usually puts it right in the middle. There it is. There's my start point. So I'm going to go ahead and add the line by a bearing, just a simple line. So I'm going to do quad 3, and where bearings are broken up into the 4 quadrants of a circle, where the upper right is the northeast, and you go clockwise, south, southeast, southwest, northwest. So 3 would be the southwest quadrant, and I'm turning an angle 89 degrees, 100, tab over. You'll see above that it converted the 3 to the southwest bearing for me. I'm going to give it a length of 100 feet, and I'm going to enter that. There, and now I have my line. So a lot of times you'll have a bearing that might go for 1,000 feet, and you'll have several lots or something like that every 100 foot or 200 foot long where you want to enter that in. So one of the things that I like to do is you have this line extend right here, and it just keeps you on the same bearing that you're already on, and I can just add another 100 feet to that. And then if I want to just continue with that, I can put my cursor up here, and I don't even have to type in the command or click down below and type in the command. I can just type in 100. It automatically remembers the last command that I was on, and it adds another point.
So really, if you're just using that last command, all you have to do is hit enter and then type a distance?
Correct. It's really a nice shortcut up here. Once you get familiar with the commands and how this works, it's pretty slick. Another feature as well I like to do as a side shot is I'm traveling down the line at 100-foot increments, and then I have lines going north or south for lot lines as well. I want to add a side shot on that, so I can do a radial side shot here. Enter. It remembers where the last point I was. I can select the bearing. I'm going to do a 4th quadrant, a simple bearing, 0, and it's a 100-foot lot as well. And then we have that.
Nice.
I can come down here and I have to end that side shot. And when I end that side shot, then it goes back to my original where I left off, and I can just go back to the line extend if I want, and just do 100 feet, and then we have another 100 feet.
Nice.
And I can come up here, and if I want to skip all the clicks down below, I can just type in RS, enter, and do it. 3. Oh, sorry. LB, line my bearing. Enter. Space. And then I extend that line right there. I want to do another side shot.
So really, this seems like a perfect a way of doing lot lines, like you're doing frontage of the front of line of the lot, back line of the lot.
Absolutely, and as you're running down the line, you can throw in your side shots as you're going. Let me just back up a little bit and just throw in an arc at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and use the arc. I'm sorry, I went too far.
As we all do.
I clicked the wrong.
There is a few questions that I think might be a good time to answer.
I want to do a bearing, so I'm sorry about that. Riley, go ahead.
No, there is some good questions that have come up. Patrick asked, do you have to use quadrant numbers or can you use text like northwest, southwest? And you can use both. You can either use a quadrant or you can type in northwest, southwest. So to do that, you would type in north, then the angle, and then west at the end, or W at the end, sorry, N at the end. Start and W at the end of the text. So the options are there. Jeff is showing the quadrant because it typically speeds you up. If you're using the quadrant number, you only have to use the keyboard instead of switching over to, or not the keyboard, but the
number
side
pad.
keyboard.
Yeah, if you have a number pad and you can mostly stay on the number pad with your hand and you don't have to bounce back and forth between the keyboard and number pad, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Ken asked, does this default to northing easting? I believe you can change whether it's easting, northing easting in the project settings. So right now Jeff's got it set up for northing easting, right? I think, maybe.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
The question was, can you, oops, sorry, I lost it there. Does this default to northing easting when you're entering coordinates? And I believe TBC defaults to northing easting, but there is an option in the project settings that will change that to easting northing if you want.
Yes. Yeah. Right. It does default to that, and I prefer northing easting myself, and I know a lot of others do it the other way.
Yeah. Another good question Jeff asked was, how do we learn all these shortcuts that you're using?
For me, trial and error. Sitting down and play with it, and I think it's covered in the help documentation.
Well, you can see too in the command window there. Maybe jump out to the main. Yeah, just click on the bottom for a new line. And you can see beside all the command names themselves, there's two letters.
You'll see the letters.
Those are the shortcuts. So really, the idea with this is the first time you come in to create Kogo, you can look at these drop downs and see what the letters are for the shortcut, and then start typing and learning as you go. With anything, I mean, with AutoCAD, I had to learn what the shortcuts were for certain things, and this kind of similar learning experience here. It's a very, very short learning curve and doesn't really hold you up at all. Another question that was asked, what level of licensing or module is required for the Create Kogo? Currently, the Create Kogo command is licensed to the Advanced Drafting module. So if anyone is interested in what else the Advanced Drafting module has, I can talk about that a little later. Go ahead.
Okay, so I want to enter an arc information in here, and I selected arc by bearing of chord. So with that, if your curve table provides you with the bearing of the chord, you enter this here. If not, there's other options you can choose. You enter the radius of your arc right here, and the direction that you flow. A positive radius will curve to the right. A negative radius will curve to the left. I'm going to do a negative here, and we'll give it a 300-foot radius, arc length of 100 feet, we'll say, and I'll enter that. Oh, I was back on the wrong point. I didn't end my side shot. So those are some of the quick commands right there. I'm going to switch over to another TBC. I went ahead and set up some of these things in an effort to save some time. So here, this is a boundary survey. I had a survey drawing at my desk that I used, and I drew this out. And as you can see, it looks like it closes. So I'm going to go back to the Create Kogo command. And now under the map check, you'll see this is where we have your parcel, what we're calling the parcels we're going to create, it automatically will run, check the line work for parcel, the line work that creates a lot and then creates a parcel out of that lot. Again, you can give it a layer. Here's this thing on my way. Can't seem to get that thing out of my way. Here we'll have a maximum misclosure, so it's going to check your closure of that lot entered. So if you want it a little tighter than what's displayed here, you can change that right here. I'm going to go ahead and select all. And then I'm going to have it create the parcel. Now it's going to do the math for us real quick. And you can see it found this figure right here, created this parcel. If that's not the name that I want to give it, I can give it a new name. Lot 50, and then I just click on it here, and it changes the name. Now, if I had several lots here, I could just click on it and would increment one at a time as I'm going through there. That's with that. So I can either remove the parcel if I'm not happy with it right here, and I can run my map check report right here. And this is where it's going to be running a process in the background that gives us our closure on this lot.
Yeah, it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff. It looks like it's lagging behind a little bit. The webinar is lagging a bit. Is everyone seeing frozen, or are they keeping up with Jeff? Please type in the chat window. Frozen, it looks like. All right, so maybe we'll wait till it catches up, and I'll answer a few questions until it does, because there has been some great questions coming up here. So Donald asked, are alphanumeric point numbers allowed? Yes, they are. You can use alphanumeric points within TBC. Mark made a comment on having more advanced drafting module power hours, and I agree with that, Mark. I think we're going to plan to do some of that hopefully in the future soon, and thanks for your input. Let's see what else we got here. Another question was, is a space required between the quadrant and bearing? So if I put 3 for the southwest quadrant, do I have to put a space before I type in the angle?
Yes, you do.
Okay, good to know. Excuse me. Laura asked, is there a way to show a 3-point inverse, I believe is what the question is. And there is a way to show a 3-point inverse if you're looking for like an angular measurement. You can use up in the top right corner, there's a measure distance, and if you hit that drop down, there's a measure angle, I believe is what it's called. Yep, measure angle, and that allows you to do a 3-point inverse on that angle. If that doesn't answer your question, Laura, please clarify for me. And another one before we continue, since Jeff looks like we're ready to roll.
Okay.
What's the one question that was asked by Mike? And I can't really answer this one yet, but do any of these new tools address the requirements of large-scale cadastral surveying and the rules for surveying townships and sections? From his perspective, this looks like it's only useful in municipal areas. And maybe Mike, provide a little more information on what you mean there. Jeff and I are both familiar with surveying in those types of areas, so I'd like to hear what you mean by that. Addressing large-scale cadastral needs. But yeah, Jeff, continue on. It looks like we're good to go. If TBC looks good, we'll keep going. I think everybody's commenting. It looks good.
Okay. Well, I'll back up a little bit. Where I have my lot. I've finished entering in the information for this parcel right here. I'm sorry if I be back and forth with terminology. Back to the misclosure right here, we can enter in this information if we want this to be closed within 0.02 or less than a centimeter. Then this is where we would change that. So I'm going to go ahead. I want to create the parcel here. I can select this from the map here, or I can just select all from here. I'm going to hit create parcel. You'll see that it created that parcel. It gave it the number that I originally assigned to it, but I'll show that again. I want to change this to parcel 1. I change the name right there. I enter it, just click on it, and it will change that name. And like I was saying, if I had several lots here, I could just go and click on each one of them, and it will increment one at a time with that with the parcel in front of it. At this point, I'm ready to run my map check and check my closure on this. And in the effort of speed, I ran that report. You'll see it's a typical looking TBC report, and you have your header information up here. You have the section with the description of the lot. You give your length of the perimeter. Our total misclosure on this is 5,000. This was apparently a really good survey. Our precision ratio right here, 1 in 742,000. That meets pretty much all the specs here in the U.S. Our scale factor, the area of the lot as well, and then we have down below, it will highlight where our misclosure is, the coordinates of that misclosure and the bearing of it, and then
keep going. Sorry, I'm bugging Jeff.
Just below that, yeah, I got a finger in my face. Just below that, you'll see each line segment is listed with the coordinates that each vertex, the direction, your bearing of that, and the length of that line. And again, your misclosure is listed at the bottom. So if you have a big error, it helps pinpoint where that's at. And then at the final piece of the report is the actual drawing of the parcel itself. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I'm going to do a little labeling on this. I'm going to turn off this parcel layer right here. And I want to go into my drafting tab. Instead of my textiles, I'm going to try and go through this fast. So we have for those not familiar with the textile manager, we have a default standard one here, but if you want to create your own custom style manager, or textile manager, you just select new here. I'm going to go with the default stuff here. You play with your text heights down here on the height, what kind of font you want, where it's justified. Select OK there. And then we have the label style manager as well. Again, we have a default standard. You can add your new ones here. If you select the new button, if you want to customize it, your style name, the layer you want the label to be on, and the gap here is the gap between the text that you want. So if you want it to be a little bit further apart, then you can change that. I'm going to go with the default stuff here and hit OK. And then I want to label these lines. I can either just select, I'm sorry, I want to have it on that layer, maximum length, and then I want to select it here. Or select all and add. And then we have the labels. A couple little tricks to know about labels. This back. If you right click on one of the labels, you'll see we have swap label sides. So if you would prefer the angles on top and your distance is on bottom, you can swap that. Or if you don't like this bearing, I like to do everything clockwise, and this is going the wrong direction or displaying the wrong direction. You can put the azimuth right there from the northeast to the southwest. It's pretty slick thing. If you don't like where the label is, you can edit it. You can create leader lines as well here, so for those short lines that don't make sense. And we have the labeling right there. And I do have a curve on this one, so we also have a curve table. So I'm quickly open the. I'm going to allow some time for questions at the end here. So we have the curve table. You can set this up as well. Underneath here, you can choose what you want to display on that curve table. You'll see these things right here, and you can add or remove it as you wish. This is what your curve table is going to look like. You can set up your border with the line types and layers and line styles. Then your text, you can play with the sizes right here. I'm going to go with the defaults right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my curve table. Change this, make sure this is curve. On curve, you give it give it a name, the title of it up here, what layer you want that to be on, select the location for it, and I'm just going to plop it in right here, and select the segment that I want. I'm going to select this segment, and you'll see it added that curve table, and it, instead of the text being right here, it numbered it C1 for me for the curve table, and if I had multiple curves here, it would have done that for every single one of them throughout that. And then you can move this curve table or edit it as you wish. So that's enough of this one. I'm going to move on to the next one here. So I've already gone ahead and added quite a bit of text in this one. And when I got to the end, I see I had a really big error right here. I couldn't figure out how I was off by so much. The drawing looked correct. So I went back through and one trick you can do here is when you select the line segment here, it will highlight it over here in the text for you, so you know where it's at if something looks fishy. So after some investigating, I determined that I missed one of these 62-foot sections, so I can add that in now. At this point, move off of it, and my lot is adjusted dynamically. So if I had a radius that was going the wrong direction, I could just go in and add a minus or take out the minus to make it a positive, and it will update for you. It's really a nice little trick.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at typing all this stuff in without making mistakes. I'll make many every time I'm doing it. So this is a really nice feature without having. I know it a lot of times I've had to restart the whole thing just because I couldn't figure out where I had a typo or something. Another feature is with this is you can copy this text out, or you can create it in a Word document and copy that text, which I have over here. I copied that. I can just paste this in here. Like, oh, what happened? Maybe I didn't know. Yeah, I must have copied something. I had it set up so that I had it already in my clipboard.
Oh yeah, that's the benefit of this too. So if you had, the same lot line repeating for 10 times, you could just copy and paste that section of the text over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is what I did. I pasted that in here. You see it drew in the rest of the parcels here for me, the lots. I have my road in here. I have my lots, and I would have loved to have sat here and gone through every one of these, but I think you guys would have gotten really bored watching me type all this information in. But I used the extend side shot quite a bit, the side shot quite a bit, and the arcs by bearing quite a bit to draw this. So I'm going to go ahead and run my map check on this. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do a map check first. I'm going to create the parcels first. Parcels, options, select all, create parcels. So it was a pretty quick routine. It found every one of these lots right here, and then I see I have this really big one right here. It doesn't make much sense, so I'm gonna highlight that one. I'm not really sure why the program selected this, but I don't want that one in there, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete it out of there. So now I'm left with just my lots and my closures. As you can see, I have a couple flags here. I can either bring up the properties of that lot and come down and check out what my precisions are. Well, my closure right here is about 400. My precisions is underneath the 15,000 mark. Or I can come down below, click the flag, and again see what the errors are at this point.
Oh, so that's what the yellow flags mean.
That's what the yellow flags are. There's a misclosure there. I can go ahead and label all this, but I'm going to save some time here. Oh, I'm going to turn off layer. Parcel layers, and what I want to do is I want to georeference in the PDF that I used for this.
Nice.
So here's the PDF. It brings up a window. I just imported this in, and it places it on top of my text, which I need to push that to the back.
Nice.
To the back.
So you can kind of visualize what you draw up.
Yeah, you can visualize what you want, and then you can georeference this in, selecting on the points, picking a pixel there. I gotta find my. Well, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna skip to the final one here. And you can see I have my georeferenced PDF of the data in here. It fits pretty well.
Nice.
And I had a couple of small misclosures. So from this, I could create a staking plan and have my crew go out and hunt for property corners that maybe they didn't find on the first go around, or this was their first go around. Another thing with this, a lot of staking that you do for column lines or pile staking and things like that, using that extend line, a couple of those commands, it really greatly improved the speed of laying out a staking plan for your crews on that, at least on my end, from my experiences. It was real nice to be able to use those features.
Yes, one thing I didn't mention, I guess, at the start of this, we're talking about cadastral workflows, but really this create COGO command can be used for a bunch of other things. I mean, one of the other cases that we pointed out is to key in alignments from road plans. So you can use the same geometry creation tool using the line by bearings and all the other commands, and then you can take that CAD line or that COGO line work and just create an alignment out of it like you would any other line string or polyline. So if you are doing that, that workflow is there as well. I found this really useful for doing things like creating, for instance, like foundation locations for stakeout and construction. If I've got like grid line plan, I want to just go at 90 degrees and calculate a point every so often, I found that very helpful as well. So I mean, it's really up to the user. You can use this to all your different needs, but it's not just cadastral workflow involved.
So real quick, another which I didn't show, I had it ready, but if you bring in your field data and you want to start drawing lines off of your points off the field, you can easily do that. In the Create COGO, there's an option to select points, or you can either type the point names in, or you can just select a point from the map and then draw from point to point if that's what you wish. I saw somebody up there asked how to georeference the image, so I want to show them real quick. So I brought up the properties of the image. I changed the transparency to 60% so I can actually see through it. And then when you want to start georeferencing, you go to under Project Explorer, the imported files, your PDF, you right click, you hit georeference, and it brings up this box right here. If you want to go select add, take your first tick mark off of map, like so, come into the corresponding point on your data. I'm going to do another one. I'm just going to do this real fast. I'm sure. And I'm going to come down here. All right. Things lagging a little behind. Add another one.
So essentially, if you georeference any kind of image, it's the same idea.
Yeah.
You're just choosing 2 points.
And once I have that done, I'll select the compute button. One to me, the badge, compute, and there you have it. And then it moves it, the PDF, the georeferences it for you in the background. I didn't do as good a job. I didn't use very good points this time.
Yeah. Looks like we've got a ton of questions coming in, which I'm always happy to see. Like, it's just flooded. The chat window's just flooded, Jeff. So you're either doing a great job or a bad job.
Yeah. I really confused people. I'm sorry if that's the case.
There was a couple of comments about good presentations, so don't get down on it. So Jeff asked, are there routines for double proportioning a lost section corner or other types of adjustments? There is not specific routines for proportioning in TBC right now. That was something that we have kind of diagnosed as a possible need for cadastral surveyors. The question is really, do surveyors typically do the proportioning in the office now, or are they still doing it by hand and kind of weighing those? But that's a great suggestion from Jeff there.
Definitely.
Another question that Laura asked, or not really asked, but a statement was that I made the comment before that TBC does support alphanumeric points, but Civil 3D does not, and that is true, Laura. Civil 3D does not support alphanumeric points, so that's important if your end package that you're getting this data to. That it's important that you know that as well. We're going to put up a poll here. This is kind of a new thing we're trying out, and we want to hear from you guys what you would like to see in a future Power Hour. So there's a few options here. If one of these isn't really what you're interested in and you want something else, feel free to put it into the chat window or in the comments at the survey at the end of the presentation. And myself, I'll be looking at these and kind of making an assessment on what we should present next. But it looks like we've got some people already voting, which is great. We'll leave it up for another minute while I answer some more questions.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, one in regards to label tables, a couple questions were asked. Can the table be exported? It can be, mainly as a DWG or a DXF file. Another question was, can we create tables with both lines and arcs, a combined table, which you can do. You can create either line or curve, or line and curve combined tables.
That's another thing I just learned.
Yeah, exactly. You're learning every day. Another question was, Jeff asked, can we create legal descriptions from these tools? Right now we can't. There is a property within the parcel itself that allows you to input a description, which will display on the lot closure report or the map check report. But we do not have a specific tool for writing legal or deed descriptions yet, but that has been noted as a big requirement for a lot of people, so thanks for bringing that up. What else do we have here? There's a lot of questions. I'm shifting through all these. Mark asked, can we label ground or grid distances when labeling? Right now you cannot choose between ground or grid distances, which is unfortunate. Once again, this is another thing that we've noted, as a lot of cadastral surveyors want to have the option of labeling at ground and grid distances. If you use the local site settings, though, this essentially aligns your project with the ground and grid distances, so you can use the local site settings to essentially help with your labeling. Another question, Brent asked, can the labels you created in drafting be included in the diagram of the lot closure report? Yes, they can. So you noticed in the second page of the lot closure report, there is a diagram of the lot itself with the grid lines. Any annotation you make on that lot will actually show up in that plot as well, which is kind of a neat feature.
Yeah, I didn't show it. I didn't do all that first, but it will show all your labeling on that report as well.
Yeah. The spiral curves have been asked about quite a bit. We don't necessarily support spiral curves as of right now. We do support, quite a variety of ARC inputs. One way around that, though, is you can use this line work from Create Kogo to create an alignment. In the alignment editor itself, which you can see under the corridor tab if you have the advanced drafting, or not advanced drafting, TBC advanced version, there is a alignment, and inside the alignment editor, you are able to actually input things like super elevations and curves and all that different information as well, if that's your use for this function. So a few more questions, and then we'll kind of move on. Joe asked, does the Kogo tool use grid bearing or true bearing? And I believe it uses grid bearing. When you say true bearing, are you talking about like a plan bearing or something like that? Maybe elaborate a little bit more what you mean by true bearing.
Based off true north.
Based off true north.
And where that deflection between true north and grid north.
That conversion thing.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's what I'm assuming you're talking about.
Yeah, no, so right now in this version of TBC, you have to figure out what that difference is, or that angle between plan angle and grid angle, and then input that. One point to make too, when you're in the Create Kogo command,
You mean geodetic
You can also, with distances and angles, you can also use operators like minus and plus. So I could put minus 80 here or something like that.
That's what I'm messing up. That's only 60.
Oh, okay. Minus 9. And this will update the line work as well. So you can put operators there. This is kind of useful if you have lot lines and you know the total distance, and then they're broken up into smaller chunks as well. There is a ton of questions still coming in. So
I saw one. I'm sorry. I saw one up there about a big learning curve on this, and I don't think there was a big learning curve, because when the developer gave this to me, I really didn't have any training, and I sat down and started playing with it, and within a day I was feeling pretty comfortable in maneuvering. And the more I played with it, I started just trying different tricks or different ways of entering in the information, and I've gotten pretty good with it at this point. I don't think there was a very big learning curve on this.
Yeah,
I thought it was actually easier than learning some of the other tools I've used in the past.
Yeah, and that's good. That's coming from a true surveyor, giving his testimony on this.
Yeah, I do have to say that I wasn't much of a CAD person before this, but.
Before we keep go into any more questions, we'll just finish up with the presentation. There was a couple things I wanted to note before we get to the Q&A. Just to look at the summary, this really comes from Jeff's experience from this and other people that we've given this, other end users that we've given this command to. I mean, it's important to note that TBC, a lot of what's built on in TBC comes from end users. We go out to a lot of customers and do one-on-one interviews, as well as we have a TBC beta group where we have real surveyors out there that are using, whether it's TBC or other software, giving their input on TBC and what they would like differently. And Create Kogel is definitely one of those functions that's been driven by the average surveyor. And the savings in time that I've noted up here is it's not large initially. It's small from each project. But I mean, the amount of times that you use this workflow, even in one day or 1 week, can really add up huge time savings over the period, let's say a year. So that's one important thing to note. So some next steps, we do have some new things that we're trying out with TBC. So we've created a Trimble Community TBC page, and you can go to this link here and find it. And essentially what it is an open source, open public forum where we post some new information. We have some links to things like our Facebook page, our YouTube page, a webinar page, various other information like that. As well, there's a box on the side, the right-hand pane, where you can enter questions. So if you're just sitting there one day using TBC and you're really kind of banging your head against the wall trying to figure out what or how to do a certain thing, you can enter a question there, and various members of the TBC team take a look at this page daily and answer questions. So we're really driving this as another way to really connect with the end user. As well as I've kind of started to make some blog posts there and some interesting things you don't know about TBC. You know, one of my latest posts was on this Create Kogel and what you can do with it. And then as well, the second point was TBC office hours. So what the idea with this, we haven't really solidified how we're doing it, but the idea is a short, 30-minute Q&A session, essentially an Ask the Expert session every week or maybe every 2 weeks, where users can submit their questions, and then myself, maybe others, I'll have guests come in every so often and help me answer questions in regards to TBC, and it'll be kind of a live broadcast thing. So with that, as always, we have the more information page. So if you aren't a TBC user, you can go to this link, ask your Trimble partner, so your local dealer, for a 30-day demo code, and you can download TBC, use it to your heart's desire, give some good feedback. Please, let your dealer know, maybe post something in the Trimble community as well about your experience with TBC. A good place to start, though, if you're not an existing user, is the tutorials as well as the YouTube videos that we have. They go into a lot of different workflows and different applications that TBC is useful for. And with that, we got some more time, so we may as well answer the massive list of questions that's growing here.
I saw one that somebody asked for a finished drawing, and this was a finished drawing right here, and they asked how long with all my curve data in it. Everything's labeled. Background map check's been run, and how long did it take me to do this? Now, I just sat down and I hadn't used this in a couple months, and there were some new tools in there that I wanted to learn. I sat down, I drew this whole thing out in probably 2 hours, maybe. There's a little trial and error in there, so it might have been a little longer, but it probably would have been less once I completely familiar with all the tools in here. Another thing I did not show, and I meant to show it. There's so much to this, and I wanted to get so much in here before in the hour or 45 minutes in the Create Kogo. So after you've entered in your curve information or your line information, but the curve information is the one that I'm more concerned about. When you get that, you'll see when you click on a curve, based on what you input here, you'll get all the curve data down below right here. That way you can verify TBC is calculating the right information based on the information you gave and compare it to your curve data information.
Nice. We'll answer some more questions, but we do have another.
Where's Boris?
Yeah, one question came up asking where Boris is. We miss Boris too in the Power Hour. Don't worry. We feel it. Boris needed a quick break from the Power Hour, so hopefully he'll be joining us next month or the month after. We do have another poll for everybody. If you're still in the presentation, please feel free to answer it. We'll put that up now. And
Ryan, I'm sorry, Ryan, I want to interrupt real quick. I haven't been in a Power Hour in a few months myself. There's so many questions here. Is somebody going to go back in and read?
Yep.
Because we couldn't get us to them all.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, we can't answer everything in the time we have. But if you do have a good question or a good opinion you want to provide to the TBC team, my contact information was at the start of this presentation. As well, at the end of the Power Hour, you will be asked to fill out a little survey so you can put information there. And all of that is reviewed by the TBC team afterwards. So thanks again, though, for all the questions. We will answer a few more while we've got some time. One I did see, let's see if I can find it again, was in regards to using different units. So the question was posed, if they're in the same area and one survey plan is in meters and azimuth and the other one's in feet and bearings, do I have to change my project settings, or can I use feet and bearings in a metric azimuth project? And the answer is you don't have to change your project settings. What you can do is enter, I believe it's FT. FT, yeah. So if you enter in a distance that's in feet, you enter FT after that distance. So for example, I would input, we'll wait till the poll is done. After the poll, if the distance I would put here, FT, and that would convert the distance to meters. And vice versa. If I was working in feet, I could put in M afterwards. And with the same goes for azimuth. If it is in azimuth, you can type in a bearing as you normally would with the N, then the angle, and then let's say W afterwards, and it'll convert that to an azimuth automatically.
How does somebody know I have enough? I'm from Ohio.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and another point that was brought up, and thanks Dan for bringing this up, is that FT is for international feet. If you put SFT after the distance, it'll be for survey, US survey feet.
He's Canadian, don't hold that against
Yeah, I work in meters. I don't know what these feet things are. There's a lot of questions here to sift through. Is there a best fit line tool? Alan asked. There is a best fit line tool. I believe it's licensed to TBC. I have to clarify what the licensing is for that, but it's under the CAD tab here. And it is right over here, best fit line. We don't perform any reporting or residual reporting on this right now, but you can use any points and point cloud points to best fit a line using that. Another question that came up, let's see here. How many to go through? Is there a way to enter a line using 2 points? There is. One of the line commands in Create Kogo, hey Jeff, you can probably show that, is called LP, or line by points, which is exactly what it sounds like. You can select 2 points and create a line between the 2 points.
So here you go, line by point, starting point, ending point. You can either type in the point number right here, or you can select it off the map. Once you select it, it advances to the end point, select that next point, and then you continue on that way.
Yeah. Perfect. Another question that was asked, is there a way to move the point labels for legibility? This was asked by Mark. Yes, labels, I believe they all have grips on them.
Yeah, you select it and you can, it's similar to CAD, I guess. You can select on it. I've labeled this a number of times. I'm not sure why I didn't. What's going on here?
But normally you can select a label.
I've done something to this.
Normally you select a label, and it's like any CAD label. It'll have a grip so you can drag it. The good thing about line labels too is they maintain their orientation of the line. So if you drag it along a line, it'll actually stay in the same orientation of the line. Another question that was asked about if they wanted to create first the block from a survey plan, the larger area, check the misclosure, and then come back in and create the individual lots within that block. You can do it. The preferred workflow that I would do personally is create the block, the outer boundary first, perform a map check report on that, check your misclosure, and then you can either do the same line work in the same Kogo collection, or create a new Kogo collection and do the line work based on the outer boundary. So there's a few options there.
Grips right there. You can slide.
Yeah, so just showing the grips and see how it maintains the orientation along.
Yeah, I can't even do this.
Answered that one. Another question was asked about what the parcels are made up of. So these are what we've called these in TBC is Kogo parcels, Kogo line strings. The line strings operate similar to how the regular line strings in TBC do. So you can actually create parcels from existing line string work. So if you have something that was created using the line string command or the polyline, you can select that while you're in the map check tab and Create Kogo and create a parcel from that as well. We'll answer one or two more questions, and then we'll end it for the day. Another question was about CAD functionality. Can I use things like fillet and or trim? Yes, in the CAD tab of TBC here, the edit tab, not the CAD tab. There's things like fillet, chamfer, offset line, trim, extend, and other various line editing commands. Another question was asked about what version of TBC has Create Kogo. Right now, Create Kogo is licensed to the Advanced Drafting module. And it's not a version, it's an add-on module. And one more, and then we'll call it good. See here. There was a question about exporting too. So this is like a line string. The line work here is similar to line strings in TBC. So you can export it as DWG or DXF. There is limitations on that right now. If you're familiar with the export of line work in TBC to AutoCAD and other products, some of the information, so like a parcel information with the misclosures and all that, that wouldn't go across to AutoCAD, but the line work itself and the points can be exported. So I think that's good for now. We've answered a lot of questions. There's tons here still, and I wish I had more time.
There's quite a bit here that we didn't even cover.
Yeah.
And,
but what we can do...
There are some exciting new things coming in the Create Kogo as well, so stay tuned.
Exactly. I want to say first thanks to Jeff for presenting today. He did a great job, and I'm glad to have his professional opinion and demonstration skills here today. And thanks for everybody for being here. If I didn't answer, or Jeff or I didn't answer your questions, and you do want an answer, please feel free to send me an email or put it in the survey afterwards, and we'll try and get to those today. Thanks again, everyone, and I hope wherever you are in the world, you have enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.
Bye.